Hello, we are Group 11 and this presentation will explore the impacts of wind energy in Canada, but first we'd like to begin with a land acknowledgement. We as a group would like to take some time to acknowledge the traditional territories of southern Alberta, which consists of the peoples of Treaty 7. Treaty 7 includes the Blackfoot Confederacy comprised of the Siksika, the Piikani, and the Kainai First Nations, the Tistina First Nations, and the Stoney Nakoda, including the Chitikee, Bearspaw, and Goodstoney First Nations. The city of Calgary is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta in Districts 5 and 6. As students residing on this land, we'd like to take some time to acknowledge the land of the people of Treaty 7 and show our gratitude towards them for taking care of this land, the land for which has sustained us and as students has provided learning opportunities for us. The purpose of this presentation is to talk about the possibility of renewable energy on this land, which has a direct impact on Indigenous communities, and hence requires the consultation of Indigenous peoples. As students and guests, we will uphold efforts of reconciliation and learning of the land and the people Indigenous to this land. Wind power is a form of renewable energy which first uses a variety of wind turbines to harness kinetic energy from wind and then converts it to a form that can be domestically used. Due to Canada's ideal geographical makeup, including open prairies and shorelines, and the country's national shift towards environmentally sustainable solutions, wind power is an important sector in the country's future in energy. Through this presentation, we will be highlighting some of the opportunities and concerns associated with this form of energy through the analysis of three key sections. The first section will delve into the past, present, and future of wind technology. The second section will look at the prospect of sustainability of wind power, and the last section will highlight the Indigenous perspective behind this wind power. With that in mind, we'll start our analysis through looking at the first section dealing with the past, present, and future of wind power. To grasp the significance of wind power, it is essential to understand the history of energy in Canada. For a long time, coal dominated Canada's energy landscape, accounting for about 64% of the country's energy consumption. Coal was abundant, relatively inexpensive, and supported by extensive infrastructure. The industrial age in Canada brought about a massive increase in energy demand to support emerging industries, and at the time, wind power was not reliable enough to meet these needs. Wind power was only truly effective during periods of strong winds, and unpredictability of wind currents provided little incentive for Canada to transition away from coal.
New advancements in wind turbines have enabled much more efficient energy storage, making large scale wind farms a viable alternative. Canada's perspective on coal shifted significantly as environmental impacts of coal became evident. Canada began to gradually phase out coal. Provinces such as Alberta implemented out plans reducing coal use from 38% in 2016 to 7% in 2022. This transition created opportunities for alternative energy sources such as wind. Canada's wind power capacity has grown substantially, increasing from 1,846 megawatts in 2007 to 15,132 megawatts in 2022. This figure is likely to continue rising as technology advances and wind turbines become more efficient. Offshore wind farms are being explored as a way for coastal provinces to generate their own clean electricity. For example, Sable Island in Nova Scotia has been scouted as a potential location for an offshore wind farm. It has enough space to accommodate 1,000 offshore turbines, which is enough to power 6.5 million Canadian homes.
Wind power and sustainability. As Canada makes a move to cleaner energies, it's important to understand just how much cleaner wind energy is in comparison with coal. Research has shown wind produces around 11 grams of CO2 per kilowatt hour, while coal produces around 980 grams of CO2 per kilowatt hour. Wind energy emits significantly fewer emissions than coal as well, and adopting wind over coal would greatly aid Canada in achieving its carbon neutrality goals. Social impacts of wind power. While wind power has generally had a positive impact on the environment, it also brings certain societal challenges. During the construction of wind farms in New Brunswick, the J.D. Irvine wind farm was seen as quite a positive for the community. It created jobs and new opportunities, especially in the manufacturing of the wind turbines. However, upon review, only 20 of the 200 jobs created were permanent. While wind farms on paper seem like a net positive for job creation, it's clear that most jobs created will solely be for construction of these turbines, and much of the jobs will go away once the wind farm is completed. There is also some concern about how wind power is perceived by rural communities. A survey conducted by the University of Alberta found that 57% of landowners supported wind energy, while 92% of them supported the oil and gas industry. It is also important to note that 62% of participants agreed with the statement. We still do not know for sure whether climate change is real or caused by humans. What is clear from these figures is that there is a sizable number of landowners who would not support the installation of wind farms in their area. This presents a clear obstacle for wind power in Canada and raises the question of whether communities should have a larger say in the construction of these wind farms, even if it would mean a strong pushback and an overall slower adoption of wind energy.
In developing wind farms throughout Canada, it comes as no surprise that Indigenous communities have had an interest into the growth of this energy sector. However, that isn't to say there's a unified consensus for what the future of wind energy means for Indigenous people throughout Canada. Many Indigenous nations have actively positioned themselves to influence the construction and management of these wind farms. A notable example of this is the Cowesses Renewable Storage Facility. This storage facility not only powers 340 homes, but also provides training and job opportunities for the Cowesses First Nation. By relying on this facility, the Cowesses First Nation enhances their energy autonomy, which is crucial for exercising their rights of self-determination. However, the development of wind farms often intersect with multiple traditional territories, complicating the question of compensation. For example, in 2011, the Bow Lake Wind Farm's construction was halted due to objections from the Anishinaabe First Nation. Although the Botswana First Nation had significant stake in the project, part of it encroached on Anishinaabeg's land, leading to disputes over inadequate consultation. Opposition to wind farms isn't solely about land rights. There are also environmental concerns, particularly regarding the impact on native bird species. In Alberta, TransAlta's wind farms faced resistance from residents who were worried about birds and other wildlife being harmed by wind turbines. In an interview with Annalise Jensen, member of the Métis Nation of Alberta, she stated that the purpose of conservation was ensuring biodiversity to benefit future generations. It's clear that there's some potential conflicts between the construction of wind turbines and its disruptions it has on bird populations.
In conclusion, the development of wind energy in Canada presents a complex landscape of opportunities and challenges. On one hand, wind power offers a cleaner renewables alternative to traditional energy sources like coal, significantly reducing the carbon emissions and also aids in the fight against climate change. The growth of wind energy has been supported by advancements in technology and favorable geography, promising a sustainable future. On the other hand, wind energy development is not without its complications. Job security in the wind power industry is often less secure than industries like oil and gas. Often, after the construction of a wind farm, many are left without a job. On top of that, support in rural communities is often underwhelming, and many wind farms receive pushback due to the lack of trust and a general skepticism of climate change. Indigenous communities have shown both interest and involvement in wind energy projects, exemplified by initiatives like the Cowess's Renewable Energy Storage Facility. However, consensus on the future of wind energy remains divided, reflecting diverse perspectives on self-determination, conservation, and land use. The integration of wind farms sometimes intersects with the traditional indigenous territories, raising issues of land rights and the need for proper consultation. Environmental concerns, particularly the impact on bird species and local wildlife, they also pose significant challenges that must be addressed to ensure sustainable and ethical development.